Welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about the 5 books that I read over and over and over and over and keep learning something each time I read them in no particular order. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Inside the front cover it says, "To make the journey into the power of now, we will need to leave our analytical mind and its false created self, the ego, behind. From the beginning of the first chapter, we move rapidly into a significantly higher altitude, where one breathes a lighter air, the air of the spiritual. Although the journey is challenging, Eckhart Tolle offers simple language and a question and answer format to guide us. The words themselves are the signposts. For many of us, there are new discoveries to be made along the way. We are not our mind. We can find our way out of psychological pain. Authentic human power is found by surrendering to the now. We also find out that the body is actually one of the keys to entry into a state of inner peace, as are the silence and space all around us. Indeed, access is everywhere available. These access points or portals can all be used to bring us into the now, the present moment where problems do not exist. It is here we find our joy and are able to embrace our true selves. It is here we discover that we are already complete and perfect. Many of us will find that our biggest obstacle to this realization is our relationships, especially our intimate relationships. But again, we are in new territory, and all is not what it had seemed before. We come to see that our relationships are yet another doorway into spiritual enlightenment if we use them wisely, meaning if we use them to become more conscious and therefore more loving human beings. The result? Real communion between self and others. If we are able to be fully present and take each step in the now, if we are able to feel the reality of such things as the inner body, surrender, forgiveness, and the unmanifested, we will be opening ourselves to the transforming experience of the power of now. And I've got some sections, like kind of a quick reference. This book is very special to me. It's kind of become part of who I am. I think about the power of now all the time. All the time. It's a great, great book. And I own all these books, by the way. I only own books that I will reread over and over and over. Otherwise, I just borrow it at the library. So this is also by Eckhart Tolle. This is a new addition to my collection. It's called A New Earth, Awaken to Your Life's Purpose. Building on the astonishing success of The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle takes us beyond our own lives to show that we now have an opportunity to birth a new, more loving world. This involves a radical inner leap of consciousness from the current identification with our ego to an entirely new way of thinking about who we are. For this to happen, the very structures of the human mind would need to undergo an evolutionary transformation. In A New Earth, Tolle shows how this transformation can occur not only in ourselves, but in the world around us. In illuminating the nature of the shift in consciousness, Tolle describes in detail how our current ego-based state of consciousness operates. Then he gently and in very practical terms leads us into this new consciousness. We will come to experience who we truly are, which is infinitely greater than anything we currently think we are. And this is a new edition, so I'm sure I will read it more than once, but it's new to my collection. So that's why I know I'll read it many, 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 many times. The next book is The Wise Heart by Jack Kornfield. This is a guide to the universal teaching of Buddhist psychology. Jack Kornfield. Actually, Eckhart Tolle and Jack Kornfield have YouTube channels, and I love listening to them. You have within you unlimited capacities for joy, for love, for communion with life, and for unshakable freedom, and here is how to awaken them. In The Wise Heart, one of the leading spiritual teachers of our time offers the most accessible and illuminating guide to Buddhism's transformational psychology ever published in the West. Trained as a monk in Thailand, Burma, and India, Jack Kornfield experienced at first hand the life-changing power of Buddhist teachings. The emphasis on the nobility and sacredness of the human spirit, the fine-grained analysis of emotion and thought, the precise techniques for healing, training, and transforming the mind and heart. In contrast to the medical orientation of most Western psychology and psychiatry, here is a vision of radiant human dignity and a practical path for realizing it in our own lives. The Wise Heart is the fruit of a life's work that includes such classics as A Path with Heart and After the Ecstasy, The Laundry. Filled with stories from Kornfield's Buddhist psychotherapy practice and portraits of remarkable teachers, it also includes a moving account of his own recovery from a violence-filled childhood. For meditators and mental health professionals, Buddhists and non-Buddhists alike, The Wise Heart offers an extraordinary journey from the roots of consciousness to the highest expression of human possibility. So this is really cool. I just realized that both of these wonderful human beings were introduced to me by psychologists at my school. For over 20 years, I was a teacher in a public school, and I was always working. I was a special education teacher, so I always worked very closely with the school psychologists at my school. And Eckhart Tolle was introduced to me by one of the school psychologists, and Jack Kornfield was introduced to me by two different ones, two people that I love very, very much. The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukov. I think I may have heard about this book actually from Oprah Winfrey, like a million years ago. I don't know. I'm not sure. But right now, I am reading another book by Gary Zukov. He wrote, after this one, it's called The Heart of the Soul. I am actually borrowing from the library, and I'm not done yet. But it's a very good book. So, The Seat of the Soul. I just adore this book. I adore this book. And let's see. The Seat of the Soul is about the birth of a new species and the explosion of human perception past the five senses. It is about the values of the soul, harmony, cooperation, sharing, and reverence for life. It is about authentic power, the alignment of the personality with the soul. It is about non-physical guides and teachers. The Seat of the Soul is written for the largest, fastest-growing market the world has ever seen or ever will see. That is because the new species is being born inside of us. The Seat of the Soul is about this birth, what it means, and how to participate in it wisely. Love this book. It's about the biggest idea in this book is authentic power. When our personality aligns with our soul, we have authentic power. So yeah, that's like the perfect description of authentic power. Authentic power, what I learned in this book is authentic power has nothing to do with material things. It has nothing to do with labels, with jobs, with where you live, with the clothes you wear, blah, 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 how much money you have, none of that. Authentic power has to do with your soul being at peace and a sense of love and community and connection. That is authentic power. And this this book gave me permission to live the way I do. Uh, Buying my clothes at thrift shops, uh, uh, driving a very basic, inexpensive car, retiring when I was 55, and just living a very simple life. Uh, it gave me permission to live in line with my soul. Love this book. Love this book. Love Gary Zukov. He makes videos on YouTube also. And there are two people. There's one more book, but there are two. Carolyn Mace is another person that I watch on YouTube a lot. She's a she's a spiritual teacher for me. And Byron Katie. Byron Katie does have videos. A lot of her materials are free, and she is amazing, Byron Katie. I don't own their books, surprisingly. I don't know if I've read a Carolyn. Oh, yes, I have. Anatomy of the Soul. I read Anatomy of the Soul, but I didn't buy it. And Byron Katie, it might be called Accepting What Is. I'm not sure. But I read that book too, and I took copious notes for both, but I didn't feel like I needed to buy them. I don't know why. But the last book, that's a feather. This is Illusions by Richard Bach. And there's actually no explanation for this book. There's no summary, anything. Oh, there is there is the introduction by the author. So this book was published in 1977. This book is a very interesting, and I was going to say it's a wild ride. The first time I read it, I had to look back, and I don't know. It's a quick read. It's a quick read. Some of it is like journal entries. Like it's less than it's less than 150 pages. So it's a quick read, but it's what it taught me and why I like to read it is that it teaches me not to be afraid, never to be afraid, no matter what, and that I'm always in I'm always in good hands. Like somewhat like my higher power. This does not mention anything that has to do with religion, but it is I'm not even sure how to describe it. I highly recommend it. And it's definitely one of my all-time favorite books. So that's my this is my small stack of very favorite um, spiritual books, and really my favorite kind of books to read are these kind of books. Every now and then I read fiction, but I always come back to, well, actually, this I'm not sure if this is considered fiction or not. I don't know what that's considered. Let me see. Let me see if it says it on the inside. It's so unlike anything else I've ever read. It's called Illusions: The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. No. It doesn't give any labeling as far as genre. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you again soon. Sending you love. Take care.